Good evening and welcome to another Monday Night Live. After a nice run of tournaments, had the end of the Open Championship feel with the ladies AIG Open. Charlie Holm narrowly missing out. And Cameron Young winning
wire to wire.
Yeah,
finally getting a win. Something like 93rd tournament, I think.
Yeah, superb. So plenty of golf. Summer of golf is sort of feels like it's coming to a bit of an end, doesn't it? I know. Sad in August.
I had an American client in this morning who said the same thing. He said it just feels a bit wrong that we're kind of done for the majors.
Yeah, wrapped up.
And then FedEx Cup finals or playoffs start this week.
Yeah, and Ryder Cup. Yeah. And then they're not. Christmas running.
Oh, don't. Yeah.
As usual, we'll be taking all of your questions and they are flowing in already. So we'll get straight to them over on the Precision Golf channel. If you've got questions about anything equipment-wise, Simon is always happy to fire them on and I am happy to heckle. And anything golf swing related, head over to Good Golf Coaching and ask a question there, or equally pop it on the Precision Golf channel too. So we'll start ourselves off with John Burton. Have you had a chance to see which flies higher, the T250 LS or the JPX 925 HL?
Not quite yet. The 250 LS got pushed back a little bit, so we're hoping to have that in a few weeks' time. But ultimately, no, even Tightness Zone Fitting Centre hasn't got that quite yet. So, but as soon as we have it, that will be definitely a test and a video we'll be doing.
Very good. Martin Williams, hi. Hi, I'm trying to change my swing and try and take loft of the irons. I'll take loft off the irons, as I have always had a bit of a flick that adds loft. Do you think playing more traditional lofts would help the steed of low?
There is a principle that adding loft to make you take it off is a good thing. I think it depends what you're doing and whether that right now that's the right thing to do. I think it's better to get your impact position stronger and then add loft when you need to. If it's currently a bit high and a bit weak and the stronger loft is actually helping the ball flight, then play with the better ball flight. I think if you're doing some practice with some launch monitors and you can monitor your dynamic loft, your impact position, your angle of attack, all those sort of markers about getting that ball flight down, then do that, but don't weaken your flight to a point that it's actually hurting you before making that improvement. Some say it can kind of nudge one onto doing it, but I'd rather see it in a better place or a little bit too strong and then loft it back up, personally.
Lee Roberts, hi guys. Stuart, the way you coach and set up promotes a right to left ball flight. There was no question mark, there was a statement, and that is factually incorrect. No, I do not coach just exclusively right to left. So we'll get that one out there first. As someone who's follows and tries to learn from your vids, what do you do or change if you want or need to hit a fade? Well, I've done plenty of videos on shot shaping. There's a variety of ways you can hit a fade. You can either open the face, grip the club, and then straighten it back up. That's one way. You can add a little bit more cup in your wrist on the way back. You can hold it off through strike. There's a myriad of ways of hitting fade. I am absolutely not biased on just draw. Neutral for me, so you can move it both ways would be the best way to go. But hopefully, if you go over and check out my channel, you can see a few videos on shot shaping, which are super easy, some more complex than others, but hopefully you'll find enough on there that will float your boat. Lee Roberts, thanks a lot. Both keep up the good work. Thanks, Lee. We will keep trying. James Young, evening all. I recently had a driver fitting and was fitted into a Diamana BB63 stiff in a GT2 driver. Just wondered how this shaft compares to the standard Tensei 1K Blue that's not aftermarket.
So the standard 1K Blue is a little bit heavier, a couple of grams heavier, but the Tensei series, that one has got a more responsive tip section. In theory, the blue profile is the same across all models, but from a material point of view, the Diamana series, I think, has played particularly stable in the tip. Feels a lot lower torque. Basically, you've got higher grade materials, so it means on off-center hit, there's a little less distortion to the head, kind of clings on a little tighter, so in principle, there's a little less gearing, but it will feel a little bit firmer. Certainly should, in theory, bring the spin down a little bit. but actually swings slightly less tip heavy as well, but all around a little bit tighter, a little more stable, and definitely it's going to feel like it can stand up to a bit more of a hit than the 10C AV.
Very good.
Or 1K, sorry.
Simon Muggleton. Hi guys, at impact, I'm finding my right knee is ahead of the ball at impact. That is an awful long way forwards with your right knee, or you've got your ball an awful long way back in your stance. Either way, the right knee shouldn't be there. Could you get into the desired impact position of a 7-iron and show me where the right knee should be? I can do that, of course. I think it would be very important to reference the fact that the knee is a symptom of what's going on through your feet and through your pelvis. So when your hips are either sliding a long way, the right knee will kick in. So to try and fix the knee would be problematical. I would try and fix what's going on through your feet and through your hip action. As I say, the knees are very much a symptom of what's going on above them and below them. But the right knee at impact, this would be the kind of impact condition that you'd want to see. You're going to have slightly a small amount of bend with your right leg. Your right hip's going to be forwards. Again, depending on the flexibility of your ankle and your knee is going to affect where your knee kicks. But you really shouldn't, if the golf ball is opposite your left ear with a 7-iron, let's say, to have your knee all the way forwards, I'm guessing that your left knee is giving way quite considerably and you're quite tasty on the old dance floor. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an insight into fixing your left knee, or your right knee, should I say.
It's almost like you knew that question was coming in to get your knees out. I mean,
yeah, I know.
You
need visuals, right? You need visuals. Andrew Lloyd, hi guys, love your content. Question, how important is it to play with the same ball as club manufacturer? Good question, I'm not sure we've had that one before. I play P790s and I'm wondering whether I should pleat with tailor-made balls or not. Play, I'm sure he means.
No, absolutely no requirement. If you look at across the board, you've got Scotty Scheffler's not using Titleist irons and he's using a Titleist golf ball. It's play with a ball that, so the principles are a consistent golf ball, absolutely, because then you get consistency of result from a flight, chipping, putting, feel. That's the most important thing. And then you'd select a ball based on the spin profile, launch spin that you want, and the feel that you like around the greens as well. But absolutely, it doesn't have to be the same model ball as you play in your irons or your woods, just the ball that has the right flight and a nice feel.
Question from my channel, Kevin Bridges. Evening, gentlemen. Evening, Kevin. A swing question here. Any advice for someone who swings too far from the inside? Positive 6 degrees. Would you pull the ball more in? Would you pull the club more in the downswing or push off the left foot more? I would do neither. I would get the face to path value less negative because, and we can, as we haven't got massive amounts of questions in, we can do a little demo here. If you are someone that has a face to path value, got here, perfect. If you've got a face to path value, and hopefully James can pull this up on the screen. If you've got a face to path value that's somewhere in the region of 6, 7, 8 negative face to path, 6.8 negative face to path, my club path is dead straight at 1 degree. If I now create a club path from the inside at 6 or 7 degrees with a face to path value that is 6 or 7 degrees, now all of a sudden they trade off each other. So a club path from the inside at 6 degrees and a face to path at negative 4 degrees. You can see that if I make my path dead straight and I still have a negative face to path, I'm going to miss the target to the left. So what you need to do to change your path is change your face to path. So if you can then get your face to path value zeroed out or even positive, when you come to swing from the inside with a path line more from the inside at 6 or 7 degrees, that was 4 degrees, the face is now open at 3.8. Can you see how far right that ball would go? Once you've got that ball flight, once you've got a ball that has a bit more fade on it, Now all of a sudden you can start to shift your path a little bit more outside in, and with the face to path now being a little bit more positive, all of a sudden you can now get the ball peeling back onto your target. So if you don't fix your face to path first, you will never, ever, ever change your path. As long as there's a white in the day, you will never change it.
It's kind of that chicken egg question, isn't it? You'd think fix the path, but actually, as you say, unless you sort out the ball flight, then you're just going to orient back to your
100%,
original position.
100%, every time, every time.
And very good demonstration.
I've done it a couple of times before. So we've got John Burton. Yes, I'm adamant that I'm not going to miss out a question tonight, but James will keep me honest. John Burton, I play the steel fibre I-70 CW A-Flex. Is it more stout than other senior flexes? I don't feel it loads well.
Yeah, I mean, the graphite designs, the steel fibres generally do play up to flex versus most other shafts because it's got the graphite core. The core of the shaft is very stout, and then you've got the steel fibres around the outside. So actually, yeah, to flex, it's going to play more of an R flex than an A. They just structurally are a lot more stable tip. They're not the most responsive shafts. So absolutely, it's not going to be as responsive or give you as much feedback as other shafts with the same flex moniker on it.
Day V Photo says, evening lads, evening Day V Photo. What would the difference be between the Modus 105 stiff and regular? Looking at changing 5-iron shaft to make it easier to swing.
It'll feel a little bit softer. That's not an image I want to see. But it'll feel a little bit softer, but actually you're going a few grams lighter. So you're going 3 to 4 grams lighter, and that's the bit that will make it that little bit easier. So, I mean, the upside of doing that is you're not changing the profile of shaft, but all you are doing is just taking a few extra grams out, which means it's less effort to move, and that could well make it that bit easier at a time. So that's actually not a bad option for 5-iron or your kind of longest iron if you just want to make that just that little bit easier without noticeably changing the profile of shaft.
Good question here by Bama number 1. Evening, gents. Bama. While watching the Ladies Open Championship, I saw a player try to get out of a deep bunker. She didn't quite get it over the top. How do you max height out of a bunker? Well, the trouble you've got with bunker shots is that you need speed. And of course, ladies not having quite as much as the men, high-lipped bunker shots are a problem. The only way you can get them out if you don't have more speed is take it closer to the golf ball, so less sand, because ultimately the sand is disguising the loft on the golf shot. Of course, that now becomes more tricky because the old knife-a-roo into the club face. But ultimately, you need either lots of speed or loads of loft the ball is feeling. So reduce the sand if you haven't got quite enough speed, but that just makes it more tricky. So yeah, it was funny. I was watching someone play the 7th hole, I think it was, missed it short right, really deep bunker, and I was really interested to see how she played it because I know that bunker, I know the course well. Really, really deep, but she managed to get it out. But there was a lot of heavy swinging going on there. So yeah, tricky. Connor Knight. No. Leo. Phew, nearly did it, nearly missed. Hello, Simon. What are your thoughts on the Mizuno Optimizer? We've had this one a few times. Have you used it, and did you give your results that you think would work for you?
I have used it in the past, not when I'm fitting. I've had a swing with it and seen what it's produced, and what do I think of it? Not an awful lot. To those who don't know, it's a device that goes on the shaft that in principle is meant to measure or give a measurement on how the shaft loads. Ultimately, it doesn't tell you anything about how you and the shaft time up and sync up. And for me, it threw out a Nippon 950 and a Dynamic Gold. They're 30 grams apart in terms of weight. I totally understand why they do it. It's something that gives a start point based on the matrix of shafts that Mizuno offer that gives kind of essentially the most idiot-proof fitting possible, i.e. here are 2 or 3 shafts that come out based on, in principle, how the shaft loads can give an indication on the profile of the shaft that might suit. But the way it throws out such broad spectrum of shafts, it's a case of, right, here are 3, try them, which one's best. Yeah, it's a very, very basic start point. It's something that they've done for a while. I don't believe it adds much value, but to them it gives at least a start point for their fitters globally to use. But it's not something I'd even consider using in a fitting.
Shako. Good evening, lads. Good evening, Shako.
Good evening.
I have a Tour AD BB7S in my 5-wood and I love it. Any of the newer generation shafts that are similar to the BB from another brand?
From another brand. So BB stands for Blue Bullet.
That's
there
it.
you go, yeah.
You've all had one of those
so, for yourself. So 70 fibergram, smooth feel, lower flight. Depending on what you're going to, it's probably the closest to theirs. I know you want a different brand. The XC7 is probably the closest, but it swings a bit more tip heavy. I would say, see, it's such a smooth feel, the graphite designs. It's quite an interesting one to have a bit of lower spin and a really smooth feel. From a flight point of view, the Fuji Pro Black, but that's going to be a much firmer feel. It may well be that actually one of the TPTs is going to give you the most similar feel. There's not a lot that's that close to it, actually. What would I go into? I want something with a bit of responsiveness. Sorry, thinking cogs whirring. What would I go into? That's a good point. Possibly the newest Ventus Blue 7. I think the first gen's a bit of a firmer feel, but from a dead weight, spin, smoothness of feel point of view, the VeloCore Plus Ventus Blue.
Connor Knight just wanted to say a huge thanks. Had a driver and iron fitting at Christmas. Just won a bronze medal at the International Island Games and currently at lowest handicap ever. Thanks and keep up the great content. Thanks, Connor. Let us know where you played.
Well played as well.
Yeah, where was that played? That'd be interesting to know. The International Island Games. That sounds very exotic, like Carbo or something like that. You know what I mean? I don't know where that would be.
I think it might be Scottish Islands.
I'm trying to hold back the air of disappointment since Jack. Scottish.
Sorry, he's gone out of the room. It's fine.
Let us know. Simon Muggleton, thanks, Stu. Yes, I've got a big hip slide. There you go. I knew. And drop the club into plane. If I don't slide, I find I come over the top. Thanks for that demo and words appreciated. So, you've got a steep arm plane, and then you've got a big leg slide. Absolutely. You can't fix your leg action until you fix your arm pitch. And fixing your arm pitch, you'll need a better leg action. My advice to you, leave well alone. That would be my play. And then work on ball flight, work on different shapes of shot. The 9-ball drill, i.e. 3 low fade, 3 shots, low fade, low straight and low draw, medium fade, medium straight, medium draw, and then high straight fade and draw. Work on those 9 shots, find a couple that you're very good at and perfect those rather than going through that big change, unless you have real strike issues. But that would be the best way to go, I think. When you start messing around with that kind of idiosyncratic move, if you have got the right knee outside the ball, that'd be a biggie to change for you and might take you the rest of your lifetime.
I was going to say, is that because of the scale of change?
Yeah, I mean, a demo of Simon's swing would look something like along the lines of, a big arm lift. Well, if you don't drop that back inside, you're really battling. So to all of a sudden have a different arm plane and still left with the inside, it's going to be nasty work. Yeah, so really difficult to start to make that change. You'd have to do it in a 2-part. Every time you go play, half of your practice session on your leg action, half your practice session on your arm action, and hopefully they collide at some point. But that's a really tricky one to change.
I guess depending on how old Simon is, it's kind of what Valdo went through all those years back, isn't it? And how long it took him doing it all day, every day to build it in. And the answer is Orkney.
Orkney? Where did we find that from? Did you
James.
Telepathy.
Telepathy.
Oh, goodness me. Brilliant, brilliant. I didn't get the waves at all. Bemule. Bemule? No, I've done that one. Yes! Yes! Yes, I got him, people. I got him. Hi guys, I have been using one length irons, 8 to pitching wedge. Poor you, because of back issues. Is it possible to build one length short irons with PXG irons using their adjustable weights to dial in the swing weight?
Not quite.
Bemule, he goes on to say, would be using around 120 gram shaft with mid-size grips.
The mid-size grips help, but you've got, you think every head for a standard build has roughly 7 grams, basically 7-gram head progression. So if you're trying to get the 8, 9 and the pitch the same weight, you've got to lose 8 grams for one and gain 8 grams in one and lose 8 grams in the other. The difficulty is, you could get close to gaining the weight with the 8 iron to play it at 9 iron length, but you're probably going to struggle. It's right on the limit. I think they normally have an 8 gram or so weight in the back of the head as standard. Whether they go up to I'm not sure they go up to a 16 gram weight. You'd have to put some weight in the hosel. It's not 100% out of the question, but you're definitely at the limits of what's doable. So you might have to have a very slight, like an 1/8 of an inch progression. So that might well help with it, rather than a 1/2 inch progression. So you could get very close. I think if you've had a slight compromise on the length, then it'd be doable.
A few questions coming in over on my channel. Jeffrey Ho, evening. Would love to have a video of explaining the finish well. You'll be super happy to know that 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, it'll be landing in your little inbox. So go to check out my channel tomorrow, 9 AM, all about the finish. You're welcome.
There you go.
Gary Satterfield.
It's almost like it was planned.
I know. Gary Satterfield, if only it was. Gary Satterfield. Hi guys. A few weeks ago, Simon answered my question about a rattle in my hip, no, in my graphite shaft. Can I assume that's a piece of glue or epoxy rattling around?
Most likely, yes.
He goes on to say, and do you think it's too much to ask if you spend over $1,000 for a set of clubs, the manufacturer could prevent this?
It's not 100% preventable.
Decisive question by young Gary.
No, I don't think so. I think it's a fair question, but I think the understanding of what's happened, I think, is the key thing. Is that when you insert the shaft into the head, that some glue goes up the shaft. And it is something that you cannot 100% control exactly how much goes up there and where it goes and whether any comes loose. So essentially, with the contact, the amount of vibration that's going on at contact, that a little bit of that could come loose, and that's essentially what happens. So it is frustrating. It's actually quite easy to get rid of, but it's something that I think no matter who's built the set, very, very occasionally we find it happens to ours as well. We think with the vibrations at contact, a little bit of residual glue can come loose, and because it's on the inside, it's not something you can guarantee not happening, but it is simple to get rid of.
There you go, comprehensive answer there for you, Gary. AJ Van Kampen, is it true that when you flatten the shaft in the backswing, this is synchronized with the rotation of the hip, or is this rather an action that takes place after reaching the highest point? Unfortunately, you can flatten a shaft by taking your hands away and no hip action, and you can flatten a shaft by having loads of hip action and laying the shaft down. You can flatten the shaft by standing the club up and then laying it down in transition, to name a few. So there is no hard and fast rule, just depends on how the golfer does it. And that will all interact with where the face is aligned, which will interact with where the grip is. Let's nip back over to Precision Golf. I hope that helped. We've got more.
The
over
answer is
there.
definitely maybe. I
It's
think, isn't it?
definitely that was that. Yeah, that was definitely the
But it's
answer.
unfortunately the case in golf. There is, from a tuition and an equipment point of view, a lot of answers are that because there are so many different ways of doing things.
Until YouTube allows someone to quickly pop up a little video of their swing and have a quick look, which I'm sure that'll happen at some point. We're only kind of guessing because we can't see it, unfortunately. But you can check me out on Skillist if you want to send me any swings. I'm not going to miss anyone this evening. I'm not going to miss anyone. Simon, Bemule, Mike. Hi, guys. I know James is on it now. Hi, guys. Simon, can you hit the GT3 driver in standard loft, most upright and most flat settings? How this change starting line and how this influences hit point on the driver face?
Okie dokie.
Very good. Good question, that one. Good question, that one. I'll jump back over to my channel while Simon whips off to do that. Steve Dooley, what has been your experience with students needing lie adjustments after converting to your hold? On the course, my irons are toe up and my mistakes are pull hooks. Should I flatten my irons? First of all, I would test the lie of your irons in a clinical environment. I'd go with that first of all. Because what it looks like at address and what it looks like at impact are usually miles off. Most golfers, when they set up to the golf ball, their first instinct is to get the club to sit dead flat. Oh, it's magnetic. Dead flat on the top of the ground. It shouldn't be that way because you've got some sag in the shaft, you've got some lift in the grip. That's why most people have a different lie angle dynamically than they do statically. So just because you see the toe up at address doesn't mean it's going to be that way at impact. So I'd test it out on a range first. Draw a line down the middle of a golf ball with a wet pen, hit a shot. Where that line points will tell you whether you need your golf clubs to be flattened or steepened. Either way, just adjust them in the same way you'd have your trousers taken out after you've eaten too many pies at Christmas.
Which is easy to readjust the lie. So is it most upright and most flat?
Most upright, most flat.
So how this will come out, and the only thing is the colour thing. To pick up the strike point, we generally need the lights on. But James, is that going to throw off the colour?
Nah, it'll be all
No. So it's that far left one's all we need.
It'll just... We might overexpose.
That's a good job I'm wearing less bright clothes than normal.
I'm going to back away from the overexposed.
Yeah. So I've got the GT3 in the most upright setting first. In terms of, this is one of the things, in terms of start line, the actual lie adjustment, you're looking at, if we're just doing lie, there are 2 settings upright, 1 setting flat from standard. But if you incorporate loft into it as well, then that brings the toe in a little bit more. So actually, the amount the lie affects, the amount the lie is affected by just moving the lie with tightness is not a huge amount. But if you change the loft as well, it makes a much, much bigger difference. So this one's most upright, most lofted setting. Oh, that's good. And I think a strike point, there is an element where there's a human on the end. So that is a slight variable as well. However, so let's start with this. So in principle, this is going to move a little bit more left. Unless you drop it inside, open the face and block it. But in terms of strike point, if I put this,
Feels like I'm under a sunbed. I mean, I wouldn't know what that would feel like, of course.
Of course.
I wouldn't know what that would feel like, of course.
So hopefully that's visible on screen. That's right-hand side of the screen's on that. But if I see that down a little bit. In principle, the more upright you put it, the more the strike point is going to move slightly higher on the face, slightly into the heel. So that's certainly something where the heel gears it a little bit to the right, but the more upright, the adding loft just toes in a little bit more. But as you can see from that, what the player does is going to override that setting quite a lot. If I change the setting, put in its lowest loft and flattest setting, then in principle it's going to come out, well, it'll come out lower, but in principle it's going to come out more to the right. So on the right-hand sleeve, the highest loft, most upright is A3, On the left-hand setting, it is C1, and C1 is the lowest loft, most flat setting for right hand, and A3 is for left hand. Not the most intuitive cog system.
Yeah, I mean, it's truly. I mean, don't they supply a little card with the?
Well, you can see it online now. They're being eco-friendly by not supplying the card.
They did supply a card though. Didn't they, one time?
Yeah, a little booklet. So, I mean, visually, you can definitely see quite a noticeable difference in the way the head sits.
And this is what
it's little
setting?
flatter, little lower. So
Right.
C1, so kind of one notch down from standard and one notch flat. So it's about a half to 3/4 of a degree each setting. So, this visually to my eye sits better, but in terms of strike point, it's basically the same. So for me, it doesn't necessarily shift it that much just on its own. In principle, the more upright, the more you're going to hit into the higher, into the heel side. The flatter it brings, toe side into it a little bit more. But as I said, the player's going to override anything. In principle, the flatter setting, I've actually squared off better because it's just better swing. The more upright setting, I got underneath and opened it up a little bit. But obviously, flights come down by a reasonable bit because I've knocked it 4 notches down. So it's down 1.5 1.75 in actual loft. But it is a fine tune rather than a major change. If you're going one setting, it's a real fine tune.
I think that's also. I mean, it's important to remember that, right? I mean, these are fine tunes with these clubs. Not I've got a 25-yard slice and I'm going to turn it into a draw setting that I'm going to turn into a draw of the golf ball. You'll reduce your fade.
Yeah, reduce fade, exactly, yeah. I mean, Titleist is very much that. It's a subtle change. I mean, they don't have Callaway's cog system has a draw setting. I actually think the Callaway system's the most versatile because the cogs are independent of the sleeve, so the grip stays in the same place. But it gives you neutral and a draw, i.e. a closed face setting, and then loft up and down. But the loft change is the bigger change versus the face angle one.
Daniel Winterbottom. Hi, gents. I appreciate the Monday Live.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you watching.
Absolutely. I think my shafts are too heavy. Modus 130 at sand wedge is D2. Swing weight.
Although understandable, you'd say sandwich.
Oh, swing weight D2, yeah, right, of course. Would switch swing weight to overall weight. What does that mean?
I think my shot's to you. Modus 130 at DT swing weight would. Not quite sure. WH divide.
Yeah, not sure what that means.
Just clarify the question, but I think if I'm right, if the interpretation of where I think you're going with this would going a lighter shaft and heavier swing weight make it. Would you switch swing weight and overall weight? Just clarify the exact question so I don't answer the wrong one, and we'll reply to that as soon as it comes through.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Jasper, question for Stuart. What's your opinion on swaying in the swing? Is it a killer? How does an amateur stop from rotating the hips too far in the backswing? Well, rotation is always going to be present. When you start swaying and moving sideways, when you're young, that kind of works because when you're young, you have the better ability to separate your upper body from your lower body. As you get older, that separation value reduces. So you need to rotate your hips to encourage more shoulder rotation. It's not a killer. It just means that you're playing the game sideways. And as we know, that making the club move sideways through strike doesn't really work because it can offer the face up. There are golfers that have made it work, no doubt about it, but it is just a little bit more tricky to time up. If you move laterally, you move the low point in your swing off of the ball. You then have to move that back onto the ball. Again, this is coach's jargon, but if someone turns up playing off of scratch and they've got a bit of a sway going on, you're not going to do too much with it. But if you're learning the game and you're looking to improve and you find yourself having a bit of a short backswing and you want to hit it a bit further, using your legs to encourage more rotation will definitely make your golf swing faster and it should be able to give you a bit more consistency with your strike. The other question was, how do you stop from rotating the hips too far? Quite frankly, you look at people like a Bryson who have 60, 70 degrees of hip rotation. I don't think you're going to be needing to worry about having too much hip rotation. So go for your life when it comes to hip rotation, because the more hip rotation you have done in the right way, the more force you can put through your feet and your legs to create speed down through strike. So give yourself loads of hip rotation, and I think that'll be better for you than having sway and no hip rotation. But hopefully that goes some way to answering your question.
As long as you're balanced, that's, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Golf Nerd 3. What is your post-round drink of choice? Good question.
Ooh.
Pint of Gunners for me, or lime and soda. More
Are we
lime
talking
and
about?
soda
Are we
these
talking
days.
about one that aids hydration? Or,
Forget the hydration. What would it be?
If it's cream, so Mark's just pipes up with cream soda. I do quite like a Gunner actually, but either it's probably a lager shandy or a glass of white wine. Oh, it's got Angostura bitters, ginger beer, lemonade. It's a little bit of, the bitters and the ginger beer give it a little bit of spice to it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's
It's
quite
like
thirst quenching.
it's one up from a ginger beer, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, that would be the
Yeah,
best
yeah.
way to.
What's the other? There's
A
Gunner
fruity. It's a fruity ginger beer.
Yeah, it's
That would be a good way of explaining, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Fruity ginger
Just think
beer.
of all the advertising that could come off that. A fruity ginger beer.
I know. Matt Gibson, what is the big difference between the T250 2-iron and the U505 2-iron?
Let me grab that and I'll explain.
While he heads off and does that, let's Jeffrey Ho, thank you. You are welcome. I always heard the Fleetwood crap from your videos. Yes, yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Right, so T250U, U505. So the big difference is, if I hold them up that way, I don't know whether this can focus on it, the U505 has a much wider sole. So essentially the weight's dragged back from the face more, it's more stable, more forgiving, it's designed to launch it a little bit more. I think last year the 505 was a little bit clunkier, the back was more noticeable. This, whilst it's still noticeable, it's neater. And we're going to do a lot more of the U505 this year than we did last year because of that extra forgiveness. But I think this year the difference is the T250U comes out a little bit flatter, a little lower, and the 505 launches a little bit higher because you've got that weight positioning much further from the face. But both really nice heads, but I think we're going to do a lot more 505s this year than last year.
I wish we had a dog cam.
His
His eyes are running. Our eyes are now. Oh, they were rolling.
Anyway, conscious being watched.
Rogelio 71. Good evening, Rogelio 71. I'm an avid viewer of the channel. Thank you, and I feel that the lessons and tips you have shared have been truly helpful. I've shot an 81. Any tips to help shoot in the 70s? Yes. Every time you go out and play, find a 5-yard chip shot and spend 5 minutes trying to hole it every time you play. But just try and hole it, and you'll be surprised how it changes your mindset. And that in itself will absolutely take 1-2 shots off your round over a period of time. But be consistent with it, and it will roll into slightly longer chips. So invariably, you might end up chipping it a bit closer, holding a few more putts, and that'll be your 5 shots that you need. Okay, so that's that.
That's very good. It's such a mindset thing, isn't it? That bit of not just trying to kind of get it somewhere close, actually trying. It's such a different mindset.
Yeah,
when you're playing well, you're naturally doing the try to hold it bit.
Yeah. Gary Satterfield, hip, very funny, Stu. Thanks, Simon. Free Willy. I didn't realise Free Willy's in the house. Dear gents, I'm thinking about buying some new irons. I play since years stiff shafts, 110 grams. Now I guess with 63 years old and handicap 9, it's better to play standard R-Flex with 95 gram. Do I lose distance? Greeting from Germany.
Yeah. Good evening in Germany. You might not lose distance, and the whole thing of going lighter is actually just to, ultimately the right weight is the one that allows you to swing, is to stay balanced and to deliver the head consistently and in control. And sometimes actually having some weight to use is a good thing, and sometimes going a little lighter is just easier to stay in control of it. So ultimately, whichever one allows you to strike the ball most consistently is the better weight to have. And actually, you wouldn't necessarily lose distance. If you can swing more efficiently with a lighter weight, then you might gain some clubhead speed back, gain a little bit of height, gain a little bit of distance back. And that's where some of the head tech can help gain some of that ball speed back to get the distance back if you have lost yardage. So you may not have to drop distance off, but using the right combination of head and shaft is critical with that.
It was Jack's dad that answered the question about the International Island Games. Well done, Alistair.
Bonus points.
Held in Orkney. Chong and Yap, for slower swing speeds, for 7-iron at 70 miles an hour, is it okay to go for a lighter, softer shaft as opposed to default weight? You could probably ask Mark this one. He's about 70 mile an hour now. For the longer irons in order to get a similar apex as the shorter irons?
So the key thing is to not play a club that you can't flight correctly. And that's the sort of first and foremost. Some players deliver more loft than others and therefore can play more longer irons or lower lofted irons. But you know, I mean, a softer shaft flex won't really do much at all unless you go monstrously soft. You've got to make a huge difference on flex alone to make a noticeable difference to flight. It might just feel easier to get a result out of and therefore feel nicer. But yeah, in principle, a lighter shaft, if you've got a lower clubhead speed, then a lighter shaft, in theory, allows you to move it a little faster, get a bit more ball speed, get a bit more height. But you've got to make sure that there's enough height from your longest iron, and that might be a 6-iron. You know, there are plenty of sets that will stop at a 6 or a 7-iron now. But you make sure you're getting enough height and enough spin to get a consistent carry distance progression. The moment that starts to drop below, you need a 5 mile an hour ball speed progression. You need to generate the height. If you're at 6 or 7 yard carry gain, then it's not worth having and go to a hybrid.
Very good. Matt Gibson, what did you both think of Royal Porthcawl as an open venue? And do you think we could ever see Wales host the men's event in future? I think absolutely.
No chance for the main open. Zero chance for the Open Championship.
Why do you say that with such gusto?
Because I know people at the RNA have said it. No, but ultimately, the
How
venue's not.
can you hold Ryder Cup there where you can't hold an open?
Well, the venue's not big enough. The accommodation isn't big enough. You can't get the people there. Yeah. This is something that they've said. This is why Turnberry isn't currently on the rota. Yeah. You can't get the scale of crowd, the grandstands,
but they can hold a Ryder
everything
Cup.
there. When was Porthcawl held a Ryder Cup?
No. He's not saying about Royal Porthcawl. He's talking about Wales.
Sorry, I thought you were talking about Porthcawl specifically.
Yeah, right.
Wales, I think Open Championship is going to be on a links course, and that is one of the stipulations of it. And with that in mind, no, because I don't believe that there's a course and an area that currently can handle the hullabaloo that an Open Championship goes along with in terms of getting enough people there and in and out. And I think that's the only reason. They've got golf courses. There's some fabulous golf courses there, but not the scale of facility required by an Open.
Yeah, I don't see why that would be the case. I mean, if you can hold a Ryder Cup, you can hold an Open Championship.
Yeah, but that's at Celtic. That's not a course they'll hold an Open on.
We can agree to disagree, but I can't see why if Celtic Manor can hold the Ryder Cup, they can hold an Open Championship. If they don't want to hold it at Celtic Manor, so be it. But if there's not a course that can hold an Open Championship that fits within their perimeters, then they're fair dues. But it'd be a shame not to, because why? Yeah, why would Ireland have it? Scotland have it? We have it. It should be. You're not an ambassador for the RNA, so it's not like
it's purely around. It's going to be on a links course, and that's the only reason. It's not that Wales can't host it as a country. It's just that you can't tick off all the boxes.
No, sure.
It's why they're struggling for venues. UK, we just don't have. Say Turnberry's not on the rota. They'd love to get another one down the south of England. But even Deal, Princes, Sandwich has got the scale of area, and even then it's a struggle getting enough people in and out. And I think that's the problem. It's got to be on a links course.
Yeah, for sure. Interesting stuff. I played, incidentally, asking the first part of that question. I thought it was a great venue. I know Porthcawl pretty well. Played there a few times, and a friend of mine's a member there. you didn't play the first hole. It was the first hole was the second hole because they've got the range up at the top there. But they've done a load of upgrades to it over the last 5 or 10 years, and I think it really held a really nice Open Championship.
I mean, I've not played it, and I've wanted to play it, and watching that made me really want to play it. Looked an amazing, amazing venue.
Yeah.
Especially when the sun out, the views, you got a real sense of actually the topography. I thought the camera work was really good.
Yeah, those drones and things do make it easier to see, don't they? Just another question, Shako. Would the Ventus White be suitable for juniors in a 37.5-inch playing length driver, or will it change its characteristics too much because of too much butt trimming?
To go down to that length, I mean, it's a more stout shaft to that sort of, well, at the uncut length of 49 grams. So would it change its characteristics too much? I think it's an awful lot of Ventus to trim down. I think if you're having to trim it down that short, I'm not sure I'd go to a shaft that dear. But you would start to be getting into a bit of the shaft that isn't necessarily designed to be held. So it doesn't mean it won't work, but it's a heck of a risk for a shaft that's a 350-pound shaft.
Indeed. Mark Rowley, hey fellas, I upgraded to a Cobra Aerojet. Is the Light Flex Basara shaft for speed and distance? My swing speed's 100 miles an hour. Got the distance, lost the accuracy. 4 right, change shaft? Question mark. Yeah,
I mean, the Basara range is one that Mitsubishi aren't currently kind of having in their aftermarket models, but or it's very limited, but was designed around lightweight and predominantly for kind of slower swing speeds in principle. So where you've probably lost a dispersion is that the shaft might be a little bit light. It won't actually be the flex of it, changing it, spreading it too much, but the weight and the balance of it will be a little off, and you've lost control of the club head. So chances are just gone a little bit too light in shaft weight.
Daniel Winterbottom, sorry, you are correct in your thoughts. I was thinking that a lighter shaft, I was thinking what lighter shaft and heavier swing weight would do. I've always had a DG or Modus 130S.
I mean, neither of those are particularly tip heavy. Even the Dynamic Gold it is very neutrally weighted, but it's just a lot of weight. It's a hard one to tell, really. I mean, there are plenty of shafts you can go lighter and increase swing weight with, but then the balance point changes quite a bit. So if you wanted to keep the balance point the same as a DG and go a little bit lighter, then potentially a Modus 115 might be a nice way to go. It's around the 118 gram mark, 120, but isn't an overly prominent balance point change from a Dynamic Gold, but that would save you the 10 grams or so.
Steve Johnson, great show, guys. Thank you, Stephen. Simon, is there a difference between the Aratera Alpha 1 versus the EC1, or is it just rebranding to do due to legal problems?
As to the legal problems, I'm not sure on that. The Alpha 1, if I'm correct in this, was the initial prototype that they started with that I hit a year and a half ago on the range at demo day at the PGA show. And that did then change and become the EC1 series. They did slightly change the profile. So as to whether that was legal reasons or not, I don't know for certain. I wouldn't be able to comment on that. But I do know that the very original one that they started with did change structurally and become the EC1 series. So they are not the same shaft from a structure point of view.
Gary, Stu, do you think it's a mistake falling in love with one of your wedges? Seems like lately I have better luck using my favourite wedge and manipulating the loft for my short game. I think it's a mistake falling in love with any club these days with the turnaround of them, models, rebranding. But if you've got a good fitter and they know what you like, I think you should feel confident in the fact that when you go back to that fitter, that you can get a replacement with the new models and moving forward. So get yourself a good fitter, fall in love with every club in your bag, and as long as they know the blueprint of why that club is really good for you, fall in love with who you want.
But falling in love with the wedge isn't a bad club to fall in love with.
No,
putter,
absolutely.
I prefer to fall in love with my putter. Personally.
Yeah, absolutely. Free Willy Dear Stuart, I follow your channel since 1 year and it is great. Thank you, Free Willy. How many % of weight I have to put in start of downswing on the left leg? Best regards, Frank. Really, you want to start shifting the weight to your left or lead leg by the time your left arm is parallel to the floor, finishing the last half of your backswing, really. It will start to ramp up even more when you start pulling, but about 60% on your left leg by the time you reach the top, up to anything around 80, 85% by the time you're halfway into your downswing, and maybe all of it just before strike on your left leg. Hopefully that makes sense. I've done a great video actually from the gym here on my pressure mat some while ago, one of my earliest videos. Go check that out. That'll really help you out on that one. Just scrolling back, making sure I haven't missed anyone out. Golf Nerd 3 does a ribbed grip. Yes, a ribbed grip. Play slightly bigger than its round counterpart, or is it balanced? Or is it balanced out, he said?
It does play very slightly bigger, very slightly, almost like a half a layer of tape, mainly because it kind of just fills into the crook of your fingers slightly more. But it's not an awful lot. Obviously, the main body of the grip, when I play with a rib grip, you know, the main body of the grip is the same, but just where there's, you see in this one, that little mark down the back, and you've got the Align on the toolbox. Actually, the Align Max is they definitely play slightly bigger, but it just very slightly fills out the crook of your fingers. So I would say about a half a layer bigger, but I wouldn't necessarily change the size of the grip. It just fills in that little bit of a crevice in your fingers.
Crevice, good use of the word.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Felt appropriate at the time.
It did, and you used it well. You used it well. Connor Knight, great name. Got a 3 hybrid. Lots of chat about 7-woods. What's the pros and cons?
Pros and cons of a 7-wood is, for a lot of players, we're now going to higher loft woods to get the launch and to get enough spin to get the ball to stop when it lands, or to get more control when it lands. So if you're looking for maximum height, 7-wood versus a 3 or 4 hybrid, or a hybrid of the same loft. Some brands would call it a 3, some 4. But if you're wanting a shorter shaft to play more like an iron, then a hybrid will give you that. And sometimes you see a little bit less left to right dispersion out of a hybrid. If you tend to hit down on the ball a lot, then the hybrid probably give a more consistent flight. If you pick it more, 7 will probably pick the ball up better. So those would be pros and cons of both.
Got 8 minutes left. Got a few questions in. This is when we turn into speed golf. Josh Wright asks, can we have an 180-yard closest to the pin, green above, if time allows? We will do that next time for you, Josh. With 8 minutes to go, we will be pushed to do that with the amount of questions we've got in. Neil Lewis, hi, quick question, Ari, stack and tilt. What's your thoughts on this approach, keeping weight forwards? I'm 63 years post-spinal fusion and desperately trying to regain some decent low point strikes. I would steer well clear. As far as I'm concerned, I don't know enough about it, but stacking with a bit of a spine issue, I wouldn't think would sit too well for you. But give it a try, but I don't know enough about it. Mark Blass 49, with zero torque putters being so popular right now, do you foresee Superstroke coming out with a variety of grips with the forward press offset? TM has it, but would like a 1.0 tour.
And the only thing with that, I mean, obviously you've got the press 2s and things that Lab do. I don't know whether any patents around it that would stop some of them doing it, but almost inevitably there will be some grips that will be launched to take that into account and to give options on the amount of degrees of lean that it creates, and Superstroke would be a natural one for that.
Very good. CP74, I have MCC Align golf grips. I want to change these as I don't like the Align with the Align. What grips would you be comparable so the swing weight does not get materially affected?
I mean, almost anything of a standard size. In standard size, you generally have a grip weight, so anywhere between sort of 48 to 49 grams on the multi-compounds. The Aligns have a couple of grams more, they're 51, 52. You generally, pretty much anything is between 50 and 54 grams. So unless you're going for a particularly quirky grip type or particularly light one, some of the Winds do a very lightweight one, then you're pretty safe with almost any grip that you pick.
Gary says, sorry, Stu, that's not what I meant. I meant using one particular loft for all of your short shots around the green from different distances. I just like using my 56 for everything. I apologise. Sorry, I didn't interpret it that way. Yeah, well, Shane Lowry does exactly the same. So, good enough for Shane, good enough for Gary Satterfield. So, yeah, I would, get used to one club. And if you can make it work with all, fantastic. It's only when you start to feel like it holds you back, would you then start to think about using another club? I apologise for being a bad communicator. You are not a bad communicator at all. Matt Gibson says, thought the Wales Porthcawl question might cause some debate. Appreciate your views. You're welcome. As you say, Porthcawl came across great on the TV. Yeah. Stuart, how would you practice getting the swing more into out without overemphasising swinging out to the right? I know this can cause shanks or cut and stuck behind. Matt, I would go check out my video series with the broom. I know it's a bit funky, but honestly, this will give you real insight into how you can get your path line from the inside without making it feel like it's the inside. And just check out any club path video I've done on my channel, Good Golf Coaching. Head over there and you'll find all you need to know. But it's you need to see it for what it is, and the way you're explaining into out is the way 95% of people see it into out, and shanks come at people very, very quickly. So steer clear of that, tuck in the elbow and all that nonsense. All garbage. Steve Alderson, love the content, fellas. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Steve Alderson, 10-star GT2 set at D4.
10 degree, yep.
Oh, okay. Feel like it's a spit spinning and losing distance. Quick adapt to setting change to bring down the cut spin and the height. Question mark. Thanks in advance.
So if you want to bring down the cuts, if you're lowering loft, technically that's going to open the face a little bit. So make sure you go into an upright setting. So if you're trying to really bring the kind of the maximum change for both elements would be to put it into D2. So it's lowest loft, most upright. That would minimize launch and spin, and then minimize kind of the cut element, so set to upright. So that would be the biggest change you could make.
Very good. Golf Nerd 3. What do you think is the minimum clubhead speed one should have to use a one-piece construction 3-stroke 4-iron efficiently?
It's going to depend not just on club speed, but on your launch and spin numbers. I mean, realistically, from a 3-iron point of view, look, I stopped using one of those a while back, and my 4-iron speed is about 94 miles an hour. So if that's a marker on it, I would say you've got to be at least 90 miles an hour, at least, preferably a little bit more, because if you're using a one-piece construction, there's no help on ball speed. It'll spin a little bit more than the multi-piece construction heads, but you're going to need a lot of club speed to get enough flight and distance on a 3-iron with no ball speed help to make it worth using.
Very good. I think that's a good answer. That's a good question, that, isn't it?
Yeah, really good question.
Yeah, good question. But Mule,
you can tell by the cogs whirring.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I think so many people have still got those clubs in their bag and they're just sitting there with no use, right? And they've got massive gap, got 5-iron, 6-iron, and then they've got their 3-wood or their hybrid, and it's like, what are they doing between that, right? With 7-woods and all that kind of business as well.
Yeah, there's so much more out there that can make it, some people call it cheating, but can make it a damn sight easier and more consistent than a 3-iron with no help.
Particularly coming into autumn, winter.
Oh,
yeah,
wet fairways.
Yeah, horrendous. But Mule, are there any current hybrids that have the Project X Denali Blue 80 6.5 as a no upcharge option? I tested the Ping G440 with the Denali Red 6.5 and liked the feel a lot, but spun a little bit too much. It doesn't.
Did not. Yeah, well, off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you for certain. A lot are using the red because it's a softer tip. A lot use the hazardous black. The Denali Blue, I wouldn't know off the top of my head whether there was a brand specifically using that shaft. Too many options to remember that one.
And Matt Gibson, Free Willy says the broom drill is great. You heard it here. And that is at 7:59. We've done it.
Yeah. So one thing I did want to bring up is we mentioned Porthcawl and Charlie, and one thing that we've got coming up in a few weeks' time, a couple of weeks' time now, we do a charity auction.
Amazing.
The week that we have our golf day, and Charlie has very, very kindly donated a round of golf with her and James at Wentworth. So it'll be one of the items which is on the auction, which is live for that week from Monday the 18th through Saturday the 23rd, is that there will be a 2-ball with Charlie and James at Wentworth as one of the auction items. So very, very kindly donated by Charlie, that.
Fantastic. Big thanks goes to Charlie.
And we're donating money for Great Ormond Street Hospital charity.
Yeah.
So.
And as far as James's golf, could be good, could be bad.
Oh, he'll throw
but either
a couple
way,
of birdies in.
But either way, it'll be a great entertainment.
Be exciting.
On and off the golf course. You could be sure of that. Well, as usual, big thanks to yourselves. There is quite a few of you watching this evening. Give it a like and a share, and why not bring a friend along the way? We're not here next week.
Yep, next week, and maybe the week after. James is away, so the camera operator, the tech bit.
Yeah, we can't do. We tried it without. Yeah, we can't do
We'll
that.
see what we can do for the following one, but it may be a couple of weeks or so before we're back on.
Yeah. So you can get all your questions loaded up, ready for a couple of weeks' time. Thank you, as ever, for joining us and giving us something to do on a Monday evening. Really appreciate it, and thank you for supporting both of our channels.
Absolutely.
And hopefully you enjoy all our content. From Simon, James, and I, you have a great couple of weeks, and we'll see you in a few.